Hey, it's Chris here today from Huckabones Equipment. In today's video, we're going to be comparing snowblowers. We're going to have a conversation about comparing the three, so to see which one may or may not work for yourself. So as you can see, we have a rear blower, front blower, and inverted one. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of each and why one may work over the other for you. And also you can see around me, quite a bit of ice. We got an ice storm there yesterday, quite a bit of buildup, so hopefully that doesn't distract you too much. But let's start by talking about the rear snowblower. All right, so first off, again, you can see the ice everywhere. There is a ton of it. We're dealing with lots of power outages, branches down and everything. And you know, we might see a chipper video in the next little bit here. So let's jump back to talking about rear snowblowers. So whenever you start talking about rear snowblowers, what are some of the benefits of it? Well, as you can see, they go on the rear of a tractor. So that makes them very interchangeable. Every tractor out there has a rear PTO. So as long as it's not too wide for the machine or too heavy or whatnot, it's gonna work from machine to machine or make and model to make and model kind of idea. Very interchangeable for whatever you want, whether it's this is a 74-inch, you could put up to an MX5400, right down to an L2501. They'll all work with it, so it's all very interchangeable which one you want on it. Your maintenance costs are going to be quite a bit lower. Not a whole lot of moving parts there. Basically, you have a PTO shaft and then your hydraulic rotator, manual rotate. These are moving parts with your shaft and a fan. So very low maintenance on that. It is one of the most popular units, well, it is the most popular unit out there is having a rear snowblower. Been out on the market for, 65, 75 years. Tried, tested, true, it's gonna work for you. It also lets you have the loader on the front, because again, with mounting on the rear, you have a loader on the front, so that is a huge positive. In the middle of winter, you don't have to take off your front snowblower, put your loader back on or anything. It lets you go out and do the work you want to do, whether it's, get more wood in or move a snowbank back, maybe a front pusher blade on the front that really helps you move snow. Really, the only downside to a rear snowblower is your comfort level. If you have an extremely long driveway, let's say a kilometer long, you're probably not going to go with a rear snowblower because you're going to be backing up for kilometers at a time, really hard on your neck and your back, and really adds up the more you're using it kind of idea. Other than that, lots of positives there. Now let's jump and talk about the front snowblower, which really drives up the cost as well as that comfort level. What's the benefit of a front snowblower? The biggest one and really the only one is comfort. It's really going to drive up the comfort level. It's going to be the best one on the market. It's going to really help your neck, your shoulders, everything. You're facing forward. You're not looking behind you pretty much, other than whenever you're reversing. You're not going to be hard on yourself. It's going to be easy. And that's what you're always aiming for on a front snowblower. But there is a lot of downsides to a front snowblower. Number one, and the biggest one, is cost. They do cost a lot more than a rear or inverted. After that is it really dedicates the machine, right? You can't interchange them. So we have an BX 1880 here. Well, this front snowblower only works on an 80 series with that quick hitch. If I want to go up to a B01, more than likely I'm trading in that snowblower because I'm gonna have to upgrade that quick hitch to a different model to make everything function with it. Some downsides there is it's very dedicated to the machine. You're only going to see them on smaller tractors as well. In the Kubota lineup, you can put a front snowblower onto an L60 series. That L60 series front snowblower now is over $20,000. So not very cost effective is what I was going to say. That not very cost effective. So you got to be mindful of that. Usually it's only going to be on smaller tractors, whereas an inverted or a rear can be on any tractor, whether it be 100 horse brake down to a BX kind of idea. So the maintenance cost of the upkeep of a front snowblower is going to be there because again, a lot more moving parts. Again, there's a couple PTO shafts in there before you actually get out to the augers and stuff. So a little bit more expensive than compared to a rear or inverted. Last but not least is how they function. Well, if you have that kilometer long driveway, this one's going to be the best one for you. It's going to be the most comfortable and just function correctly. Again, if you have a lot of outbuildings or a breaking trail, you're either going to have a rear snowblower or a front snowblower. Again, the reason for that is because that's what's hitting the snow first. It's not going to be your tires or anything get hung up. So as you can see, there is some really big pluses whenever you get to a front snowblower. Whether you're trying to break trail, ease of use. Really, the only downsides you're going to run into is the cost of doing it. So let's jump to talking about inverted blowers, where we get some of the positives there without the negatives. Okay, so this is my personal favorite. I'm a little bit biased, is I like inverted blowers. I think they function quite well, but you are going to have to make some compromises whenever you do want to use one. Some pretty obvious pluses to it, but there's some major drawbacks to using inverted blowers. So some of the positives you're going to run into, again, is cost-wise, you're going to fall right in the middle between the two other blowers, whether it be front or rear. And then after that is maintenance costs are very equivalent to what you're going to see on a rear. as there's not any extra moving parts compared to that rear snowblower, and not as many as what you're going to see on a front. Comfort level is quite a bit higher than a rear, again, because you're facing forward about 75% of the time. Really simplistic to use. You're also going to have a front loader available to you. So, you know, like in this case, you know, we have a blade on the front. You could have a snow pusher. Maybe you're looking to move a bank back and you need the bucket. You're easy to switch in between and do some work without having to take the unit completely off, like a front, and put the loader back on. So very handy that way. Getting into the negatives now is, let's say you have that kilometer-long driveway. What are some of the drawbacks? Well, first you have to drive through the snow first. Some people consider that bad, whereas these blowers are made heavy enough now that you're going to pull that right away. It's not going to compact it down. But you may have to go out twice whenever it snows 2 or 3 times, or have to have a blade on the front. There's going to be some compromises there to make it work for you, whereas a front or rear will work all the time without having to do anything different. Whenever you have a bunch of outbuildings, it may not work for you all the time, because if you can imagine a building on this side and a building on that side, is where do you throw the snow now? You know, you've driven through here, you've cleared all behind you, and you're trying to get the snow over to the front, is you may have to move it twice to clear all the snow, whereas a front or rear will just be a one-time pass and away you go. So again, the biggest drawback to an inverted one is it may not be for everybody. Again, whether it's how you use it, how often you want to use it, are the 2 biggest drawbacks there. So that kind of gives you a quick overview of the 3 different types of blowers and which one may work for you. So that brings to the end of today's video. The goal of today's video is to give you a little bit of background knowledge to take to your local dealership, whether it's Kubota, Massey, Case, to hopefully identify which blower will be the one that works best for yourself, whether it be inverted, front or rear. Again, as there was some pros and cons to each, hopefully it gives you some background knowledge on that. So if you did enjoy today's video, please like and subscribe. If you have any comments, please down below. Thank you.